At the Tokyo Hunters Association, panic was taking over behind the scenes of power. Faced with an unprecedented threat, Japan's top leaders had gathered for an emergency meeting. The order was clear: summon every major guild in the country, no exceptions. Among those present were the S-rank hunters who had survived the bloody Jeju Island raid. They were Japan's strongest, the last pillars of a nation on the edge of collapse. Since the death of Goto Ryuji, leadership of the Draw Sword Guild had fallen to his vice, Reiji Sugimoto. Rumors were circulating behind closed doors, claiming Goto had become a puppet of Matsumoto, the president of the Japanese Hunters Association. Some believed that submission had sealed his fate. Others said he got what he deserved, trying to monopolize the nation's elite hunters. The other guilds, emboldened, now saw a chance to surpass Draw Sword. But the reality was different. They were still the strongest. Minoru Hoshino, a respected figure among the S ranks, had no love for the lesser guilds. He called them vultures, circling a throne that had yet to fall. To try and balance the power, the Devil and Overload guilds formed a strategic alliance. Together, they had for S-rank hunters, matching Draw Sword in numbers. On paper, it looked like rivalry. In practice, maybe just wishful thinking. "You still think you can surpass us?" Hoshino muttered with disdain. While hunters prepared, the politicians were spiraling into despair. An S-rank gate had appeared right in the heart of Tokyo. During the crisis meeting, one of the ministers pointed out the obvious: portals of that level require more than brute strength. They require a national level hunter. But another official snapped back: with all the leaders of Japan's top guilds right here, bringing that up is an insult. If they'd watched what happened on Jeju Island, they'd already know how this story ends. There was no time for debate. They needed a plan. What if we hire Thomas Andre? Someone suggested. A heavy silence followed. The most brutal national level hunter in the world. But the reality was harsh. Japan didn't have the resources. And with the global surge in gate appearances, elite mercenaries were becoming harder to find. There aren't many willing to take on an S-rank gate. But then Reiji Sugimoto broke the silence. Maybe there's another option. He said in name: Yuri Orloff, the mage known for his impenetrable magic barriers. With enough money, he might accept the job. Meanwhile, in Seoul, soon Jin Woo walked toward his office, lost in thought. Now at level 101, he could finally use the key to the legendary Temple of Cartenon. His power grew stronger by the day. He wondered what would change once he reached level 102, and beyond that, could Jinho handle running everything on his own? Maybe it was time to bring in someone else to help manage the Jin Guild. That's when he felt it. A presence subtle, but not enough to escape his sharpened senses. He turned and spotted a woman in a cap. She quickly tried to back away once she realized she'd been seen. Jinwoo caught up with her. "Why did you try to run when you saw me? And what are you doing at my office?" The woman hesitated. It was Cha Han. Clearly uncomfortable, she forced a smile and deflected. "Do you have a minute?" But her mind was racing. That photo with Yu So Ryan. Why was she hired and not me? Are you two together? She didn't say any of that. She swallowed her questions and changed the subject. "I came to talk about Min Byung-gyu. He asked me to deliver a message." Jinwoo invited her in. The office was empty. How could he have told you anything? He asked, confused. "Byung-gyu died on Jeju." Cha Han took a deep breath before answering. "That day." I heard his voice, looking Jin Woo straight in the eyes. She repeated every word spoken by the one who had passed on. "Tell him to be careful. Someone pulled me out of eternal darkness." But it wasn't me who came back. I was conscious. Felt like a slave, living only for him, and the scariest part is that I was happy about it. His voice trembled slightly. She had asked him, in that moment, what it all meant. But Byung-gyu left her with only one final warning. Sung Jin-woo's power is immense and terrifying. He needs to be aware of that. And then, before he could finish, remember, Jin Woo's true army is the end of the sentence. Was lost, swallowed by silence. Later, we see Soong sitting on the floor of a cave deep inside a dungeon, silently chewing on a sandwich. But his mind was far from there. Cha Haen's words echoed like a restless whisper. I heard his voice. He closed his eyes for a moment. Could it really be true? It didn't feel like a hallucination. With surgical calm, soon Jin Woo watched as his shadow army crushed the stone golems like broken toys. True or not, I need to find the source of this power. That's more important than just getting stronger. Next to him, Yoo Jin-ho watched in awe. Hyungnim, this is insane. I always knew you were strong, but seeing it in person is something else. Jin Woo gave a subtle smile. It's not that big a deal, but then something unusual caught his eye. Among his shadows, one figure stood out, the ant eagerly munching on pieces of the golems. Since when does she do that? What is this ant doing when I'm not looking? Then a practical thought hit him. The farther I am from my shadows, the less experience I get. That could be a problem. Still excited, Jin-ho shifted the conversation. Hyungnim, how's Jina after what happened at her school? Soon Jin Woo sighed briefly. She need time to recover. But I left someone trustworthy with her. No need to worry. With a discreet gesture, he activated one of his skills. Sensory sharing, the vision shifted. Now he was seeing through one of his shadows. On screen, Beru, his ant general, calmly sitting in front of a TV. Jina slept peacefully on the bed in the background. And Beru was completely absorbed in a soap opera. As soon as Beru sensed Soong's presence, he spoke. My king, please disregard this. It's a misunderstanding. Jin Woo raised an eyebrow. He's watching a soap opera. Frustration and disbelief clashed. But then something else stirred in his mind. Does he actually enjoy it? The vision shifted to other regions. Soong's shadows were protecting the people he cared about. Some followed his mother as she shopped at the market. Others kept a distant eye on S-rank hunters Choi Jong-in and Baek Yun-ho, who were locked in a heated debate about national security. And one in particular watched over Cha Hae-in. She was alone, soaking in the bathtub of her apartment. Hot water flowed down her body, but her eyes betrayed a quiet sadness. Through his connection to the shadow, Soong could feel it. A silent, intimate pain, a weight she tried to hide from the world. He didn't know why, but he felt responsible. Suddenly, Jin-ho broke the silence. Hyungnim, what are you thinking about? You totally zoned out. Jin Woo flinched. It was like being pulled back to reality. Spying on Hae-in, damn, was I really doing that? A faint blush crept across his face. Feeling guilty, he wondered, should I invite her to dinner? But he didn't have time to think further. Jin-ho, oblivious to the awkward moment, added, did you see the news? The news, an S-rank gate appeared in Shinjuku. There's less than 3 days before a dungeon break. The Japanese government is in a panic, reaching out for help anywhere they can. Jin Woo kept his expression calm, but Jin-ho noticed something. Wait, you already knew. Jin Woo gave a subtle nod. So they reached out to you. Yes, but I've got something more urgent to take care of first. Jin-ho fell silent, struggling to imagine what could be more important than a collapsing gate. Meanwhile, Soong Jin Woo stared into the depths of the dungeon ahead. His eyes were locked in, his mind resolute. The Temple of Kartanon. It's time. He wanted answers. He needed to understand what he had become. In just one day, he might finally learn the truth. But for now, he kept exploring the dungeon with Jin-ho by his side and the unknown just ahead. Meanwhile, in Japan, in a lavish, stuffy room bathed in amber light and heavy curtains, Yuri Orlov sat sunken into a leather armchair, lazy, relaxed, and dangerously indifferent. With a half-empty bottle in one hand and a swirling glass in the other, he stared at the Draw Sword Guild's representatives with a bored smile. As you probably know, he began, with a thick accent and a voice that seemed to mock their desperation. I'm considered the best support hunter in the world. There was an arrogant gleam in his eyes, as if he'd already decided how this conversation would end before it even started. He gave his glass a slow spin, watching the liquid swirl in hypnotic circles. "I read the reports you sent, and if you want my honest opinion, evacuating the city as fast as possible is the only sane plan." Then, lifting his glass slightly, he added, "Looks like your country is suffering from a chronic hunter shortage." A heavy silence filled the room, because they all knew he was right. At that moment, Japan had only 6 active S-rank hunters across the entire nation. Reiji Sugimoto, now the Draw Sword Guildmaster, gave a slight nod, his eyes like steel. "Yes, we're dealing with continuous rank gate outbreaks all over the country. Because of that, every guild has been forced to keep at least 1 S-rank hunter in reserve for emergencies. Our guild has mobilized every member except 1." Yuri smirked sarcastically before taking a sip of his drink. The strong scent of alcohol now filled the air around him. "That's pathetic." His voice was low, but dripping with sarcasm. "And you people plan to defend this country like that?" He leaned back in his chair like he was watching a sad comedy. Then, with an expression of fake boredom and a dash of venom, he made his offer: $3.6 billion a year, or $10 million per day. He took one final sip and set his glass down on the table with theatrical flair. "That's the price to keep the gate sealed. For as long as you want." The room fell silent. The price was absurd, unacceptable, but they all knew Japan was running out of options. And so, without saying another word, Yuri Orlov leaned back again, crossed his legs, and waited for their answer, as if he knew from the very beginning no one in that room had the guts to say no. Thanks for watching until the end, and see you in the next video.